Jai Shri Radhe Krishna. Today we will discuss an important topic. How and when does karma come to account for its dues? Do you know when and how we experience the fruits of our actions? How do we receive them? These are questions that likely arise in everyone's mind. In life, sometimes we experience happiness, at other times sadness, and occasionally it may feel as if everything is working against us. In this video, we will explore the secret of karma and understand how, when, and why it comes to collect its dues. Is it solely the result of our past actions, or is there a deeper meaning? If you wish to understand the connection between the events happening in your life and karma, make sure to watch this video until the end. And if you enjoy our content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more informative videos. Let's dive right in. Our topic today is how a person receives the results of their deeds, regardless of their status. Take the example of King Kansa. After being killed by Lord Krishna, he returned to his parents, Vasudeva and Devaki, who were his parents in his previous life. When Krishna freed Kansa, Devaki asked, "O Krishna, my dear son, you are Narayana incarnate, the very essence of Lord Vishnu. Why did you wait 14 years to kill Kansa and free us? Why did you let us suffer for so long?" Lord Krishna smiled and replied, "Respected mother, in my previous life, why did you send me to the forest for 14 years? What mistake did I commit?" Devaki was surprised and said, "I never sent you to the forest." Krishna responded, "Perhaps you have forgotten, but in your previous life, you were Queen Kaikeyi, and my father was King Dasharatha." Devaki, stunned, asked, "Who is Mother Kaushalya in this life?" Krishna replied, "She is Yashoda, my mother." The effect of karma spares no one. Even God cannot escape its consequences. What matters is not what we achieve in life, but how we conduct ourselves. Every individual faces the results of their deeds. The law of karma is flawless and eternal. Liberation from the cycle of karma is the only solution. As Lord Krishna explained, we must face the fruits of our deeds, whether pleasant or painful. Many people wonder when they will experience the consequences of their actions, whether in this life or the next. Some actions yield results immediately, while others may manifest later. For example, if you feed a hungry person, you may feel happiness right away, which is a result of your good deed. However, the full fruits of that act may appear at a later time, in a form we cannot predict. Similarly, if you commit theft, you may feel guilt and fear immediately. The act will pollute your mind, and if you are caught, you will face additional consequences. These actions, though, will eventually manifest as part of your karmic cycle. Most of the results from our actions are experienced in this life. If we carry more sinful karma, our life will be filled with struggle and pain. On the other hand, if we have accumulated more virtuous deeds, life will be much more pleasant. Even Lord Rama could not escape the consequences of his actions. For example, when he killed Bali in secret, he later faced the repercussions of this act in the form of his own death by a hunter's arrow in his Krishna incarnation. Lord Rama's father, King Dasharatha, also faced the consequences of his deeds. Having unknowingly caused the death of Shravan Kumar, Dasharatha suffered the agony of losing his son, eventually dying in the separation from Ram due to his exile. This illustrates that we should strive to perform good deeds as they yield pleasant results. We must always consider the impact of our actions. Good deeds are always rewarding, and their fruits are sweet. There is an ancient story about King Dharamvir, a just and religious ruler beloved by his people. One day, he asked his close friend and guide, the sage Arshi Vashisht, "Maharishi, do we truly get the fruits of our deeds in life?" Arshi Vashisht smiled and said, "Rajan, it is certain that we reap the fruits of our actions. This is an immutable law of nature, much like sowing seeds and harvesting the crop." In King Dharamvir's kingdom, there lived a simple man named Haridas. Despite being poor, Haridas had unwavering faith in the power of his deeds. Haridas was a man of faith and honesty, always adhering to truth and righteousness in his life. He worked tirelessly day and night on his small farm, providing for his family. One year, a terrible famine struck Haridas's village, and the people suffered from hunger and thirst. In an act of generosity, Haridas distributed the remaining food among the villagers, despite his own family going hungry. The villagers were deeply impressed by his selflessness, but Haridas's family continued to struggle. King Dharamvir, witnessing this, turned to his advisor, Ashi Vashisht, and asked, "Maharishi, Haridas has earned great virtue through his deeds, yet he and his family remain in hardship. Is this justice?" Maharishi Vashisht replied, "Rajan, this is just the beginning. The fruits of one's actions ripen in their own time. Haridas's hard work and devotion will surely bring him rewards." A few days later, while walking in the forest, Haridas discovered a cave containing a vast treasure. He used the wealth not only to improve his family's situation, but also to benefit the entire village. His generosity and virtuous deeds were rewarded, and prosperity came to both him and the community. King Dharamvir, inspired by this, realized the importance of justice and righteousness and vowed to follow these principles in his own kingdom. This story is from ancient times, during the reign of Lord Krishna in the city of Dwarka. At the same time, a Brahmin named Sudama lived in a small village. Sudama and Lord Krishna had studied together in the same Gurukul and shared a close bond of friendship. In another village, a woman named Ganga Devi lived a life full of struggle. Despite the hardships, she never deviated from her faith and duties. Born into a prosperous family, she had been raised with strong values. After her marriage, her husband passed away soon, leaving her to raise their children alone. Ganga Devi worked tirelessly, performing small jobs to support her family. She instilled the values of truth, honesty, and hard work in her children. However, as her children grew older, they became selfish and neglected her, forgetting the sacrifices she had made. Ganga Devi continued to pray and dedicate her life to serving God, firmly believing that everyone reaps the results of their actions. Though her condition worsened and her children ignored her, the villagers took notice and decided to help. They provided her with food and medicine, improving her life. Despite everything, Ganga Devi never lost her faith in truth and righteousness. One day, her children, seeing their mother suffering, realized their mistake and repented for their behavior. They apologized to Ganga Devi and made every effort to care for her. Ganga Devi forgave them, blessing them and saying, "One must face the consequences of their actions, but if a person changes and improves their ways, even God forgives them." The story of Ganga Devi teaches us that while we must face the consequences of our deeds, we are also rewarded for our dedication to truth, honesty, and devotion. Her life, though filled with hardship, was a testament to the power of never abandoning righteousness. Those who follow the path of truth and faith will ultimately find peace and happiness. In another ancient story, in a small village, there lived a woman named Rukmini, who owned a beloved buffalo named Gopi. Gopi was not just an animal to Rukmini. She was a close companion and part of the family. Rukmini's life had been filled with struggles. She lost her parents at a young age, and after her marriage, life's difficulties continued. The untimely death of her husband left Rukmini to face the harsh realities of life alone, with only Gopi as her support. Despite her challenges, Rukmini managed to earn a living by selling Gopi's milk, which she shared with the villagers. When a severe drought struck, Rukmini struggled to provide food and water for Gopi. She worked tirelessly, praying to God for help. Her devotion was unwavering, and Gopi even joined her in the temple during her prayers. One day, Gopi fell ill, and Rukmini became deeply concerned. She sought help from the village doctor, but Gopi's condition did not improve. Rukmini continued to care for Gopi day and night, and eventually, Gopi recovered. Rukmini's dedication to hard work, sacrifice, and devotion to God did not go unnoticed. The villagers, impressed by her perseverance, began helping her with food and water. Life for Rukmini and Gopi gradually improved. One night, Rukmini had a dream in which God told her that Gopi's devotion had made her a special animal. This dream marked the beginning of a new chapter in Rukmini's life, guiding her toward a new sense of purpose. The children of the village, who had previously ignored Rukmini, now realized their mistake. They began helping Rukmini and Gopi, offering their assistance in every possible way. This transformation in the children's attitude brought Rukmini great relief. She forgave them and blessed them, acknowledging that one must face the consequences of their actions. But if a person improves their deeds, even God forgives them. The story of Rukmini and Gopi teaches us that we must bear the consequences of our actions. Truth, honesty, and devotion undoubtedly yield positive results. Though Rukmini and Gopi's lives were filled with struggle, they never turned away from their duties and faith. Their story teaches us that those who follow the path of righteousness and devotion ultimately find happiness and peace. Every individual performs actions, and as Lord Shri Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, no one can live even a single moment without engaging in some form of action. It is the deeds of a person that elevate them, and conversely, those same deeds can bring them down. According to Hindu belief, we reap what we sow. Our actions determine whether the fruits are sweet or bitter. Time itself decides these outcomes. This is why we should carefully consider our actions, as they have lasting consequences. According to the laws of karma, the sum of one's actions leads to divine justice. A person does not rely on God alone. They must rely on their own actions. While God may forgive, bad deeds do not. Bad actions inevitably lead to suffering, while good actions lead to peace and fulfillment. If one aligns with their good deeds, they will be blessed with opportunities and success. Conversely, living a life bound by negative actions will limit one's potential. Those who dedicate their work as an offering, as an act of worship, can achieve freedom from the bonds of material existence. Karma is the mirror that reflects our true self. A person is not great because of their external appearance, but because of their deeds. One should always strive to perform actions that benefit others. The power of good deeds is so great that even after experiencing the pleasures of heaven, Indra had to face reincarnation due to his lack of good deeds. Every person must face the consequences of their actions. There was once an orphan named Rohit. His parents died when he was a child, and he had no family or relatives. He grew up in an orphanage and was exceptionally bright in his studies. Later, he joined the army and rose to the rank of officer. Rohit lived with the army, never returning home as he had no family to return to. He lived a modest life, saving most of his salary and eating at the army canteen, keeping his expenses minimal. A businessman named Surajmal, who supplied goods to the army canteen, became acquainted with Rohit. One day, Surajmal suggested, "Rohit, why don't you invest your money in my business? I will give you good returns." Rohit declined, saying, "I am not interested in making money. The salary I earn is enough for me. If I ever need it, I will use it. Otherwise, it doesn't matter." Surajmal, persistent, replied, "If you consider me a friend, help me out. I will return the money to you, and it will be beneficial for me." Rohit, hesitant, said, "You are right, but what guarantee do I have that you will return the money?" Surajmal swore, "I will not cheat you." Rohit, after some thought, agreed, saying, "All right, let it be as you say. It will at least be helpful to you." Surajmal took the money, and as his business grew rapidly, Rohit's trust in him began to wane. Rohit kept looking for excuses to avoid asking for his money back. Meanwhile, a war broke out on the border, and Rohit was deployed to the front lines. The only way to reach the area was by horseback, and though Rohit was an experienced rider, the horse assigned to him was uncontrollable. No matter how much Rohit tried to rein the horse in, it galloped faster and faster. Despite his best efforts, the horse ran straight into the enemy camp, and Rohit fell victim to enemy gunfire. It was later revealed that Rohit had sacrificed his life in the war. Surajmal, who had been regularly visiting the army canteen, learned of Rohit's martyrdom and realized the consequences of his actions. Seth showed great sorrow, but as soon as he stepped out of the canteen, he became relieved, for now he no longer had to repay the debt. Seth's business flourished rapidly during this time. A few days later, Seth and his wife, Bunny, were blessed with a beautiful baby boy, and Seth's life seemed to be at its peak. This was the happiest time of his life, and everything seemed perfect. Time passed quickly, and Seth's son, Amar, grew up to join the family business. He was now of marriageable age, and after seeing a beautiful, well-behaved girl from a respectable family, Amar got married. Seth felt that his life was complete. Soon his son would take over the business, and he had everything he could ever want. However, barely 2 months into Amar's marriage, disaster struck. One day, while crossing the road, Amar suddenly felt dizzy and collapsed. People quickly helped him and rushed him to the hospital. After an MRI and other tests, it was discovered that Amar had brain cancer. Seth reassured the doctors, saying that money was no issue, and asked them to focus on treating his son. Despite seeking treatment at various hospitals, Amar's condition continued to worsen. Seth's attention shifted away from his business as his focus was entirely on his son's health. The bills piled up, customers left, and Seth's business began to deteriorate. The debt mounted, and the situation became desperate. Eventually, the doctors gave up hope. Seth had nothing left but to wait for a miracle, but it was too late. After months of battling the illness, Amar passed away. There was a great outpouring of grief in Seth's house. Seth, his wife, and Amar's wife were all lamenting their loss. Even the household servants were crying. A saint, passing by the house, heard their sorrowful cries and stopped. He said, "Crying will not change anything. It was meant to be." Seth, still grieving, angrily replied, "Why? Why has this happened?" The saint calmly explained, "This is the result of your actions. You must pay for what you've done. Yesterday you rejoiced when you heard of that man's death, and today you cry. The happiness you felt then, when you heard that the person you owed money to had passed away, was wrong. You celebrated his death instead of repaying your debts. You could have donated the money to charity or an orphanage, but you did not. Your intentions were flawed." Seth was embarrassed and ashamed. The saint continued, "Today, you stand at the same place you stood 20 years ago. You have no money, no business, no son, and you are burdened with debt." Seth, confused, asked, "What do you mean?" The saint replied, "This is your son." At that moment, Seth realized that the boy in front of him was Rohit, the one whom he had wronged years ago. Rohit had come to settle his accounts, and after doing so, he left. The saint explained that Rohit had repaid the money Seth owed, including interest, and after that, Seth's son and business collapsed. The saint continued, "This woman, Amar's wife, was the mare from the past life. In her previous life, she caused Rohit's death, and now, in this life, Rohit sought revenge, turning her life into a struggle. Everything in life happens for a reason. What you plant today, you will reap tomorrow. Nature remembers all our actions, even when we forget them." Seth sat down, speechless and disheartened, overwhelmed by regret for his past deeds. He had learned the hard way that karma always finds its way back to us. The saint reminded him of the teachings of Lord Shri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. "Keep doing your work without expecting the results. You only have control over your actions. The results are in God's hands." In life, we all want something, and we work hard to achieve it. However, some people fail to realize the importance of working without expecting immediate results. We often hear successful individuals and wise teachers talk about the importance of patience. It is patience that strengthens the soul and helps one endure hardships. Unfortunately, many people today lack patience. They want instant results, forgetting that what is gained in haste often loses its value quickly. To understand the importance of patience, let us look at a story from the life of Gautam Buddha. One day, while traveling from a village to the city with his disciples, Buddha and his followers grew weary. To rest, they stopped near a lake, and Buddha sent one of his disciples to fetch water. The disciple went to the lake with a vessel to collect water, but when he reached the lake, he saw that some people were washing clothes in the water, and at the same time, a bullock cart had stopped at the bank, causing all the mud to mix into the water, making it dirty. The disciple thought, "How can I bring this contaminated and muddy water for my guru to drink?" Therefore, he returned to Gautam Buddha without any water. The disciple explained to Gautam Buddha that the water in the lake was dirty and unfit for drinking, and he described all the reasons why the water had become so polluted. Gautam Buddha calmly replied, "Okay, no problem. Let us rest here for a while." After resting for about half an hour, Gautam Buddha instructed the disciple to go back to the lake and bring water once again. This time, when the disciple approached the lake, he saw that the water had completely cleared. There was no movement in the water, and it had become clean and drinkable. The mud that had previously clouded the water had settled to the bottom of the lake. The disciple filled his vessel with clean water and returned to Gautam Buddha. Upon seeing the clean water, Gautam Buddha remarked, "See how the mud settled on its own and the water became clear and drinkable. We did not need to make any effort to purify the water. We only needed to wait for the right time, and it became clear on its own." Gautam Buddha then explained to the disciple, "This is how it works in life. No matter how difficult the times may be, if we pause for a while and wait for the challenging period to pass, the future will become better on its own. Therefore, patience is essential." The disciple thanked Gautam Buddha for imparting this invaluable lesson. Many people who worship and believe in God, perform arti, and engage in religious activities often find that their lives are not as happy as those of people who lead immoral lives. This may lead some to question, why do bad things happen to good people? In today's world, the younger generation often struggles to understand this, and many don't believe in religious teachings or the wisdom found in sacred texts. The Bhagavad Gita is one such sacred text where many of the questions that arise in the human mind are answered in great detail. According to a story in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever Arjuna faced a dilemma, he would turn to Lord Krishna for guidance. One day, Arjuna approached Lord Krishna and said, "O Vasudev, I am surrounded by a dilemma, and only you can provide me with the solution." Lord Krishna responded, "O Dhananjay, tell me your concerns in detail, and I will provide you with the solution." Arjuna then asked, "O Narayan, why is it that bad things always happen to good people while bad people seem to live happily?" Lord Krishna replied, "What a person sees or feels is not always the truth. It is due to ignorance that one fails to understand the truth. Everyone receives happiness and sorrow based on their deeds. A person who performs good actions receives good results, while someone who does bad deeds receives bad results. Good and bad outcomes depend entirely on an individual's actions. This earth offers everyone the opportunity to choose their path, but it is up to the individual to decide which path they will follow." Lord Krishna then narrated a story. Long ago in a city, there lived two men. One was a businessman who valued religion and daily routines. He firmly believed in worship and devotion to God, never missing a visit to the temple or neglecting religious duties. On the other hand, another man from the same city was completely different. While he occasionally visited the temple, it was only to steal slippers and money from outside. He had no interest in religion, charity, or justice. His sole purpose was to steal from the temple. One day, it rained heavily in the city, and no one was in the temple except the priest. The thief, knowing that this was the perfect time, went to the temple to steal the money. He successfully took all the money while avoiding the priest's notice. At the same time, the businessman, who followed the righteous path, arrived at the temple to offer his prayers. Unfortunately, the priest mistakenly thought the businessman was the thief and began shouting. A crowd gathered, and the people, thinking the businessman was the thief, began to insult him. The businessman was shocked and confused by the situation and tried to flee. But his misfortune didn't end there. As he left the temple, he collided with a car and was injured. The thief, on the other hand, was overjoyed by his good fortune. He sang and danced, reveling in the money he had stolen. The businessman, hearing the thief's exuberance, was furious and upset. He went home, threw away all the idols of God, and began living in anger, rejecting God. After some time, both the businessman and the thief died and arrived at Yamraj's court. The businessman questioned why Yamraj had punished him for his good deeds, while rewarding the sinner with a bundle of money. He stood, angry, and said, "I have always performed good deeds, believed in worship, charity, and righteousness, yet in return I have faced humiliation and punishment throughout my life. Why then did Yamraj give a bundle of notes to this sinner who did wrong?" Yamraj replied, "You are thinking incorrectly. The day you were hit by the car, that day was actually the last day of your life. But due to the good deeds you performed throughout your life, your death was transformed into a mere injury. As for this sinner, he was destined for Rajoga, which due to his evil actions and sins turned into a small bundle of money." After narrating this story to Arjuna, Lord Krishna said, "Parth, now you have your answer. To think that God ignores your good deeds is a misunderstanding. It is up to each person to recognize what God is offering and in what form. While hardships do come in life, the grace of God always remains with those who do good. Therefore, you must never hesitate to do good deeds. The fruits of your good actions are also experienced in this life." Friends, once Mahatma Buddha was traveling from place to place, preaching to people. During his journey, he arrived in a village where the villagers began coming to hear his sermons. Soon, many people in the area became devoted to Buddha. One day, a woman approached Buddha and asked, "You seem like a prince. Why did you take up sannyas in your youth?" Buddha replied, "I wanted to find answers to 3 questions. That is why I embraced sannyas. Right now, our bodies are young and attractive, but eventually they will grow old, fall sick, and ultimately die. I wanted to understand the reasons behind old age, sickness, and death." The woman was deeply impressed by Buddha's words and invited him to her home for a meal. Upon hearing this, the villagers advised Buddha not to go to the woman's house, as they believed her character was questionable. Buddha then asked the village sarpanch, "Is this true?" The sarpanch agreed with the villagers. Buddha took the sarpanch's hand and said, "Now show me how to clap with just one hand." The sarpanch replied, "That is impossible. One hand cannot clap." Buddha said, "Exactly. In the same way, no woman can be characterless on her own. If the men of this village were not characterless, she too would not be. It is the actions of the men that shape her behavior." The sarpanch was embarrassed and realized the truth of Buddha's words. Buddha then explained, "If we want to create a good society, we must first improve ourselves. If we improve, the society will also change. We must avoid evil, and that is the lesson of living a happy life." It is often said that bad things happen to good people, and people wonder why this occurs. The reality is that the better a person is, the more compassion they have for others. They feel empathy for everyone and want to help them. This, however, can lead to greater unhappiness because, as a good person, you naturally expect others to show kindness in return. But when others do not treat you as you expect, it brings disappointment. Just as a thief expects others to be thieves, or a liar expects everyone to lie, a good person expects everyone to be good. However, this is not always the case, and this is the reason why bad things happen to good people. People often believe that the fruits of their actions should come immediately, but this is not the case. To pass a class, you must work hard throughout the year, and only at the end do you find out if you are moving on to the next class or repeating the year. Similarly, the results of our actions in this life will be revealed in due time. These results determine our next birth and the happiness or sorrows we will experience in that life. So, do not be disheartened by seeing people who do good suffering, while those who do bad seem to enjoy life. We are all responsible for the deeds of our past lives, and we are reaping the fruits of our actions. As we sow, so shall we reap. Those who understand and believe in this truth do not abandon righteousness even in the face of suffering, while others, driven by greed, abandon truth and goodness and continue to do wrong. This is the reason why, at times, we see children born to suffer pain, children born with mental disorders who come into the world only to endure the pain of needles and ultimately leave after suffering their due punishment. The life that we, you, and others experience inevitably includes both happiness and sorrow. In fact, happiness and sorrow are two sides of the same coin, and their arrival in succession is not only necessary but also inevitable. It is important to note that what we see is not always the full truth. Often, our perception can be clouded by illusion. As a result, we experience sorrow. However, it is not always the case that the good deeds we perform yield good results. The root of sorrow in life lies in the fact that we often focus more on the outcome of our actions than on the actions themselves. While we only have control over our actions, the results are not within our control. Many times we observe that a person performs good deeds and yet faces misfortune. But we must not forget that some of the sorrows we experience today may stem from the deeds of our past lives. Let me share a story. There was once a very poor man named Madhav. Apart from him, his family consisted of his wife and 3 children. Madhav did not own any land. Both he and his wife worked as laborers on other people's fields, earning a meager income in exchange for their hard work, just enough to get by. They lived in a small hut, which had become old and dilapidated. Madhav, however, saved some money by cutting trees and decided to build a new concrete house. After saving every penny, he managed to construct a one-room house, and his wife and children were overjoyed to have their own home. Madhav invited a pandit from another village to conduct the housewarming ceremony, but as he was on his way, a strong storm hit the village, causing his new house to collapse. The hut, however, remained intact, thanks to the wall of the new house providing protection. The villagers gathered and they all mourned the destruction of Madhav's house. Madhav cursed the situation, lamenting how his newly built house had been destroyed by God. Everyone assumed that bad things always happen to good and honest people. But when Madhav arrived with the pandit and saw the damage, he was surprisingly happy. He thanked God for the fact that the hut remained safe and for the fact that, despite the storm, his family was unharmed. He said, "It is good that the storm came now, before we moved into the new house. If it had happened after we had moved in, we could have lost everything. My God has saved us from this storm. Everyone's precious life has been spared." Panditji, who was listening, was deeply moved by Madhav's perspective. He said, "Wow, what a profound way of thinking. Indeed, God protects good people from significant losses and turns them into minor ones. But due to our ignorance, we often blame God for what we see as harm. We criticize Him for a small injury, whereas He transforms a mountain-like problem into a mere stone. Every living being faces the consequences of its past deeds, but God always reduces the sufferings of righteous people. This world is governed by karma. You reap what you sow. Sorrow and happiness are both sides of the same coin, and the cycle continues. If someone performs good deeds, good things will happen to them. Conversely, those who do bad deeds will naturally face misfortune. At times, despite performing good deeds, a person may still face hardships, while those who do wrong seem to prosper. This leads us to the question, if the results of our actions are determined by our deeds, why does this happen? Your destiny is not solely tied to the actions of your ancestors. While your fate is influenced by your family's actions to some extent, it is ultimately your own deeds that shape your life. Therefore, even if a person seems to be fortunate despite their wrongdoings, it is likely that their ancestors performed good deeds that impact their current fortune. On the other hand, a good person may suffer because their ancestors may have committed harmful actions. The biggest truth is that a person should neither be overly joyous nor disheartened by these circumstances. Ultimately, a person's fate is determined by their own actions, and they will receive the consequences of what they sow. However, one must wait for the right time for the results to manifest. As a popular saying goes, if you do not tease a lion, it does not mean that the lion will not eat you. This idea is reflected in a story. Once, a boy was walking along the bank of a river in the jungle when he heard someone crying out in despair. He saw that a crocodile was entangled in a net, calling for help. The boy, moved with compassion, wanted to help. The crocodile pleaded, "Please help me, set me free." The boy hesitated, fearing that the crocodile might eat him once freed. But the crocodile assured him, "I will not harm you. I will always be loyal to you and will never forget the kindness you show me. Help me, and I promise I will be your friend." The boy, feeling pity for the creature, began cutting the net. Once the crocodile was free, it caught the boy's leg in its jaws. The boy exclaimed, "But you promised not to harm me?" The crocodile replied, "I've been hungry for a long time." "You are a good prey, boy," said the crocodile. The boy responded, "What is this nonsense? Shame on you for rewarding my kindness like this." The crocodile replied, "What can I do? This is the way of the world." The boy in tears said, "This is completely unfair. This is injustice." The crocodile asked, "Unfair? What do you mean? Ask anyone, and they will tell you how the world works. If they prove me wrong, I will let you go." The boy looked at a bird sitting on a nearby tree and asked, "Do you think the crocodile is right? Is this how the world works, full of injustice?" The bird, witnessing the entire incident, replied, "The crocodile is right. I worked hard to build my nest and laid my eggs, only for a snake to come and swallow them. My efforts were in vain. Yes, this world is certainly unfair." With that, the bird flew away. The crocodile tightened its grip and said, "Did you hear that? She agrees with me." The boy then pleaded, "Wait!" He noticed a donkey nearby and asked, "Do you think the crocodile is right? Is this world full of unfairness?" The donkey replied, "Unfortunately, yes. When I was young, my master placed heavy burdens on my back and made me work tirelessly. I served him faithfully for years. But now that I am old and weak, he has abandoned me in the jungle, saying he can no longer feed me. Now, any lion could make me its prey. So yes, the crocodile is right. There is much injustice and unfairness in this world." The crocodile, growing impatient, said, "Now I've had enough. I'm feeling hungry. Say your last prayer to God." The boy begged, "Give me one last chance. Let me ask the rabbit." The crocodile, feeling a slight sense of mercy, agreed, "All right, I will give you one last chance." The boy asked the rabbit, "Do you think the world is unfair?" The rabbit, hopping around, replied, "This is complete nonsense. The world is a perfectly fair place." The fish, overhearing the conversation, shouted, "What nonsense! The world is indeed unfair. Look at me. I was caught in this trap without any fault." The rabbit retorted, "It seems as if someone is speaking with a mouthful of pan. Speak clearly." The crocodile said, "I understand your cunning. I'm speaking clearly. I will open my mouth, and the boy will be saved." The rabbit, pleased by the crocodile's praise, responded, "Are you a fool? Have you forgotten how strong your tail is? If the boy tries to run, he will die. You are the strongest creature here." Flattered by the praise, the crocodile opened its mouth to continue the argument. The rabbit shouted, "Run, boy, run! Run away!" The boy seized the opportunity, breaking free and running as fast as he could. The fish, angry at losing its meal, cried out, "You cheater! You've taken away my food. This is unfair." The rabbit, undeterred, replied, "Better not to speak of right and wrong." The boy ran back to the village and gathered a group of men with spears and swords. Together, they killed the crocodile. Their pet dog, who had accompanied them, saw the rabbit and chased it. The boy shouted, "Stop! This rabbit saved my life. Don't attack it." But it was too late. The dog caught the rabbit, and in an instant, the rabbit's life was over. The boy, witnessing the tragic turn of events, reflected, "Maybe the crocodile was right. The world is full of misfortunes and injustices. That's life. It doesn't matter how spiritual or good you are. Suffering is inevitable. Spiritual growth doesn't exempt anyone from the laws of nature. Whether one is a boy, a crocodile, a donkey, or a rabbit, life offers no guarantees. Perhaps it's this uncertainty that makes life adventurous. Being good or great cannot shield you from physical or mental ailments. Even if you love someone deeply and remain loyal, there is no assurance that your partner won't betray you." So friends, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please write Jai Shri Radhe Krishna in the comments from your heart. To receive more such videos, subscribe to our Krishna Vanigyan channel. Don't forget to like and share the video with your friends and family so they too can benefit from this knowledge. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna, Radhe Krishna.